This video, the learning target we're going to look at is I can identify the characteristics of a parabola. So this is kind of just a review video of just kind of going through a list of how we find the vertex, the axis of symmetry, the domain and range, max and min, and then labeling increasing and decreasing when we're given a parabola of a graph. So let's start with the vertex. Remember, the vertex is either the top of a parabola or it can be the bottom of a parabola like you see in number 2. But in this case, it's the top, and it's this point here at the very top. And so if we look, we're just going to list off the ordered pair, the coordinates of the x and y that make up that point. So here's the origin. You'll notice it goes over 4, right? It goes left 4, so it's at -4. Then it's up 1, 2, 3. So we would say -4, 3 is the vertex. The axis of symmetry then is the vertical line that cuts through -4. So it's going to be x equals -4. Remember to write the x equals, okay? It's important that you have this because it's a line. And then if we think about domain and range, remember domain is your x's. So you're looking at how far left does the graph go and how far right does the graph go on your x-axis. Well, this arrow slowly trails to the left forever, right? It's slowly getting more and more to the left. So it's going to go to -infinity. And then similarly, the right arrow is going to trail forever to the right. So that's going to go to +infinity. So the domain is going to go from -infinity to +infinity. Looking at the range then, it's kind of the same idea as domain, but now I'm looking at the y's, so I'm using the y-axis. So I notice the graph is always going down, right? It keeps getting lower and lower and lower. So the lowest point's at -infinity, and then the highest point is going to be at a height of 3. So my range is going from -infinity to 3. Now remember, with infinities, we always have open parentheses, right? We use parentheses on them. But this 3, there's a point there, so we need to include it. So we have to use the square bracket. Moving on then to max and min. In this case, we will not have a minimum, right? Because it's just going to keep going down. It's headed to -infinity. It just keeps getting lower, so there's no minimum. But we do have a maximum, okay? The maximum height, like we said, is at 3. So our max would be 3 there. Lastly, it wants us to label increasing and decreasing. Remember, you always read a graph left to right. And I like to picture myself on a roller coaster, okay? So if I'm on this roller coaster, I can almost trace it with my finger even. As I ride the parabola, as my roller coaster, my finger's going up, right? It's sloping upwards. So because the slope is positive, it's increasing there. And then I get to the top and it slopes downwards, right? So a negative slope means it's decreasing there. Okay, so that's number 1. All right, let's look at number 2. So same thing, starting with the vertex. So here's the origin. The vertex is down here, so it's over 2 and down to -5. So it's at the point 2 on the x and -5 on the y. The axis of symmetry cuts through 2, so we write x equals 2. Remember that the vertex is x coordinate and the axis of symmetry will always match, right? Because the axis of symmetry runs through the vertex. Looking at domain and range, remember domain is our x's and it's a parabola, so it's going forever to the left, it's going forever to the right. So on my x-axis, I'm going to hit -infinity and I'm going to hit +infinity, right? So it's going out forever, so my domain is all real numbers. It's all of them. If I look at my range, it's the same idea as domain, it's just my y's now. So my lowest value is at -5. Okay, sorry, that might be hard to see. So -5, and it's always going up, right? The arrows just keep getting higher and higher and higher, so it's going to go to +infinity. So I would write -5 to +infinity, and then just remember, you need to have this square bracket on the -5 because the point's included. The other thing I'll remind you when we write these, remember it always goes lowest to greatest or smallest to biggest, however you want to think about it. So make sure you have those in the right order as well. All right, moving on then once again to max and min. Well, this time there's no maximum, right? Because it's always going up. However, I do have a minimum, right? The lowest point's at -5, so I have a minimum at -5. And then lastly, once again, we want to label increasing and decreasing. So we get on the left side, we can kind of trace it with our finger. We're sloping downwards. So it's going to be decreasing. And then when I hit the bottom, it slopes upwards, right? I start going up. So that side's going to be increasing. Okay, so this is just kind of a quick run through, recap, review of finding the vertex axis of symmetry, domain, range, max, min, and labeling increasing and decreasing.